my pleasure to, welcome everybody to the podcast, the Seyi Adisa podcast. And we're starting a new season, new episode, and I'm extremely delighted to be welcoming our guest today. It's all about leadership. We're talking about, all it takes to lead and lead effectively. And today, I am delighted to have someone quite special. He's someone that I have watched very closely for a few years now, and I am delighted to bring him to the show. Of course, if you're joining us for the first time, please do subscribe, like, share, and, to continue to get good content on this channel. So without further ado, I want to make welcome our guest today. Is no other person than Professor Akin Akinpelu.
I don't know why you have to put a title anyway.
Well, I mean, for the record, before we go into the general conversation, it's important that, you've been at this leadership game for a while, and your doctorate is in leadership, and now you're a professor. I think is worth noting. So once again, help me welcome Professor Akin Akinpelu.
Thank you very much for having me, but Akin Akinpelu is fine. Professing is one of the things I do.
It is in this. All right. So for the viewer that probably hasn't come across you before, who is this professor man? What does he do? Do you want to just, tell us a little bit about yourself? I have a very long profile. I'm sure you'll keep it right to what people need to know about you.
I actually have longer profile, so I think yours could be shorter. Okay. But I mean, just because when people say talk about yourself, it's like a story. It's like a book. It's like over 300 chapters, and for real, it's a book. But my name is Akin Akinpelu. I wear many caps. In the academia, I function as a professor and as a researcher. I'm a management consultant, so I do process engineering and capacity development for different organizations. I've done that over the years for close to 20 years. Then along the way, I stumbled into education. I started my career in education as a teacher in the classroom before I got into teacher training, policy making. Then I do a lot of think tanks around education now. I'm a speaker. I love to write.
All right. So when you were younger, let's take it way back now. Did you see yourself doing some of the things you're doing now, or was this always the path you knew you were going to walk?
Interestingly, I have a background that is a bit amazing. If I told you that I lived on the street and I hawked on the road for about 10 years of my life,
I know that sound like.
Oh, you know that story. So if you say that if I had always known that I was going to do this, yes, maybe in my mind. Yes, because everything that was external was against that. Right. So I think that I had a good internal journey. I call it my journey of transformation. That was there internally. And so in the midst of everything happening around in the country, how it is very difficult for just a less than average African to rise, as it were. I'd always been around getting good materials, hearing good stuff into my soul. So somehow in my mind, things were getting better. Though on the external it wasn't. But I always told myself that I would be great. I always told myself that I'm going to be a leader. I always told myself that I would be a blessing to my community. I always told myself that, and it was just a matter of time. The external had to catch up with the internal. So did I know? The only way I can answer that is I would have been surprised if I'm not where I am. So I am not surprised at where I am because of the level of investment that I was putting into myself, leadership-wise, as at that time.
That's very good to know, because there are many young people out there now say Nigeria is tough, Africa is not smiling. We are in a continent where there's a lot of underdevelopment, and I think they should take solace in some of the things you've said. You can recreate your world in your mind. You can dream. Dreams are free.
Yeah.
And you can create almost the future you want right from your mind, even though the external circumstances do not say that right now.
Yeah.
From what you've said, it will certainly catch up, even though it takes some time. So you need to be patient and do that, go on that journey.
Yeah.
So who helped you though? I know, was there a mentor? Was there somebody around you in that time that pointed you to books, to reading, to feeding your inner mind with this, if you like, picture of a preferable future? Was there someone that guided you? Or how do you think you came about that? Because there are probably people listening now and, they're going through quite a lot and, honestly, they can't see a way out. What helped you go down that route?
All right, so the way I can explain that is, at that time, I'm not sure the word mentorship was very, very popular to me as a person. It may be popular for other people, but it wasn't. So I would say that it was a mix of a system mentoring me, then some individuals also mentoring me without even knowing that they were mentoring me. So, for example, my brother, who was in University of Ife at that time, will come home from school. And so when he comes back from school down to Lagos, he comes with a lot of materials. He was the first person in the family that I saw that he had books. He invested into books, he invest into tapes. So we had the cassette players at that time, so a lot of those things were there. And then I began to pick those books. I began to read them. I began to slot in the tapes into the cassette players. I began to hear some stuff. So for me, it was like some partial or informal mentorship. He was not even aware that was happening to me. So there were communities that we belonged to at that time, so a few clubs, religious institutions, and all of that. There was this form of ethical conduct that you could find. There was a system that was also teaching you a few things, So for me, even before mentorship became popular to me, I'd been mentored via systems and people informally. Then as time went on, I understood what mentorship really meant, So I began to have people that I followed that pointed me. But as at that time, a foundation has been sown, and it was good for anything to be planted on it.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah. And so again, if you're listening, it's important that you put yourself in these environments that grow you, that challenge you, even against what you may be saying. So let's I really want us to look back at your journey. You said you were on the streets for 10 years. On the streets, and now a professor. In a few decades, as it were, a couple of decades now, and what changed? What happened? What was that maybe defining moment? Was there a defining moment? Was it just happened over a period of time? How? I mean, just imagine someone is listening to this and is like, wait, we really need to understand this. You were on the streets, you were hawking, and you're a doctor and professor, and you have all of these things going on for you. So do you want to take us through that journey?
You're not ready for that journey. You're not ready for that journey. I mean, but let me just balance a few consciousness there.
Okay.
So so my father used to see, my father couldn't go to school. He lost his father, his mother rather, when he was 4. Wow. Then lost his father when he was 8 or 9, so he couldn't go to school. So all his cousins went to school. It was at a time where everybody in the community would always take care of every child or all the children in the community, but his was an exception. So one of his uncles just said, come to Lagos and see if life can be better. As at 11, he was already in the cocoa plantation doing a lot of work.
What state was
that
it?
was in Osun State.
Osun, okay.
In Ife for,
Okay.
In Ikwetumodu in Ife, precisely. And he came to Lagos and he was selling record. There's this record player,
Yeah.
that long stuff
Yes.
before you now have CDs or Dix Jets and all of those things. So he was selling that, and he got an opening at Nigerian Brewers, and the opening was for him to be a cleaner. So my father got a job as a cleaner in Nigerian Brewers, then ended up as a senior management staff, a director at the same Nigerian Brewers.
From being a
but
cleaner.
but the story didn't end that way. After a while, it looked like he never went through that journey. And that's why I always say that if your journey is not transformational and if it is not inside out, it's a matter of time you may return back to where you used to be. So my father was told to resign under duress after a training. As at that time, he had only built 2.5 houses. So 2 houses. Yes, the half one is to say that it's incomplete.
Okay.
And things began to go down. I remember growing up, we had like 6 cars in the garage. So from 6 cars, so my father had 2 cars to himself. My mother had 1. My mom used to work at Thomas Watt, which was the Apex mill that produced the books we used to write. Then the children were 6 in number, so 2 per child, and 2 children will have a car. Then 6 cars became 5 cars, 4 cars, 3 cars. 2 cars. 2 cars looked like we were suffering because my father would go with 1, then they would use 1 car to take all of us to all the schools in Kaduna. Then before they now take my mother to office, then come back to pick us. We thought we were suffering. Then we had 1 more. We had 1 car. Wow. Then that 1 car became a taxi. Just 5 years after he left work. Wow. All the gratuity. His gratuity was 400,000. Now 400,000. So a brand new Peugeot 505. Was 4,900 or 5,000 naira
at the time.
So it means that he could buy 80 brand new cars
at the time.
So 400,000 was a lot of money. If you check the inflationary gap as at that time. But the idea was that things went really bad, and just after 10, 15 years, we hit the streets like we never had money.
Wow.
So every man had to fend for himself. Wow. So I spent, the first thing I sold was water. I sold, if you guys remember ice water, this nylon used for Gary, pour water inside it through a sieve, and then put some blocks of ice, carry it on my head, and I kept shouting, everywhere on the street. I sold water, I sold drinks like Crush, Green Sand, Tandy.
So it's in Kaduna?
Limca. No, I sold in Lagos.
Wow.
I sold in Lagos. In Kaduna, things were still a bit okay. When he got out of job, we had to move to the house he built in Lagos, and then we had to. I would trek from Surulere to a place in Ebode Meta to go buy firewood. Wow. And so because we used to be rich, we used to buy food in bags, right? So, but now we don't buy food in bags. We buy food in Derica. It was poverty that made me know that you could buy food in Derica because it has always been in bags, from full bag to half bag to paint, from paint to Derica, from Derica to half Derica, from half Derica. Do you know the next one after half Derica?
Tin milk.
Tin milk. I thought you were so chilled. How did you know that? You shouldn't know that. Now, so Honorable Seyi, I hope you know after tin milk there's another one.
No way.
You don't know that one.
That's more than my level.
I hope you know that sometimes they can just use their hand to just pick up the thing and throw it into that.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
And that was how life was, for some of us. It was quite an interesting time. I could keep going on and on. I sold egg, I sold buns. Some people are still owing me money from the eggs I sold.
Sure,
so in case you are watching now and you are from that family, just know that you are still owing me. They are still owing me till now on that. So it was an interesting journey for me, but a few things helped me. Number one is the power of vision, and these are lessons from leadership. For me, it was at first self-leadership. So I will speak to vision. Vision was very powerful. I remember I would get the newspapers and just look for beautiful pictures. There was no access so much to internet as at that time. So I'll paste the papers around my room, a few things that looks like what I want. So it was like a mental picture of my future. And I think that's what vision is about. Vision is It's a mental picture of the future. You know, I began to paint my future little by little. I remember I have a book. I started writing what my life should look like, what I want to be when I'm 20, when I'm 40. You know, what I want to do yearly. What are my academic goals? What are my spiritual goals, my health goals, and all of those things. So I get to do that, you know, and that has helped me. So vision, so powerful, telling myself that this is where I am, but there's a place I'm going to. And I kept telling myself that. I kept reinforcing the frequency. It was so strong in me. I froze it in my mind to say this is where I'm going to. Vision helped me. Another thing that helped me is personal development. Personal development is a powerful thing. It's a very powerful thing that I think people should begin to pay attention to, that you can actually develop yourself. You can actually get yourself into continuous learning. You can get yourself to be better as a person. You know, these people plateau too early because of little success. Little thing they plateau, and I've seen too many people plateau, you know. And continuous learning very important, you know. And of course I cannot take the place of getting some leadership lessons that really helped me and helped my transformational journey.
Fantastic. You know, you said quite a number of things, and I remember, you know, this having, you know, almost like a vision board and the likes. And I remember when I heard that principle, I thought how easy is it to work that way. But then I was told to write checks, and I wrote checks. And years later, you realize, I beat that already. That I've gone past that. And you know, I think what it does over a period of time is that it seeps into your consciousness. And I think you made a great point there, that if it's not first in and it stays out, you know, the in always controls the out, if you like. So if it's not in, even if it looks like something else, it eventually catches up with what's on the inside. And I think that's such a great point. And to your point on vision as well, you know, I've always known from age 13 I was going to be in government. I didn't know what government meant. Sani Abacha was our head of state, but I was sort of.
You liked the uniforms?
No, not really, not really. I was terrified with the uniforms, but you know, it was after, you know, time of praying and asking God, like, God, what is, you know, I had to pick between science and arts class, and that was when I got this sense of I was going to be in government. But you know, as a young child, you know, you can only put a frame based on what you know, and what I knew was head of state. But luckily, cable TV made me see Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton in a sharp suit with a red tie. And then I asked what he studied, and they said law. And so the vision of being in government started driving.
I wasn't watching cable TV then. I was on the street. But thank you for telling me now.
Yes, different journeys. But what's important is that you know, we're on the way to where, because I'm sure we're nowhere near where you're going to.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, and if you're listening and you're thinking, wow, Akin has gone through a lot, you should tell you about the jam story.
Oh, no way.
and it's on record that you did jam 5 times.
5+.